Today I am sharing with you 17 things to do in Thessaloniki, the second biggest city in Greece, but one that isn't very frequently visited by tourists. Let's start with the most famous monument in Thessaloniki, the White Tower. During the Ottoman period, it was known by a far more nefarious name of Red Tower, and that is because it was the site of many executions. It was an infamous prison. If you watched my video about Greek food, which by the way, you totally should when you're done with this one, you will already know that Greece was for a very long time part of the Ottoman Empire. What you may not know, however, is that Thessaloniki was literally the largest urban center on the continent in all of Europe during that time period. And as a result, it has a lot of Ottoman and Byzantine history. All of that history is the reason why Thessaloniki has 15 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, a number that is pretty much unheard of around the world, especially in a city that most people don't seem to have heard of. Next to the tower, you will find a giant monument to Alexander the Great. His proper title was Alexander III of Macedon. And now this is interesting. Thessaloniki, this big Greek city, finds itself in a Greek region called Macedonia. You might also know that to the north of Greece, you will find a country by the name of North Macedonia, which is not too far away from this region. And there's a reason for that. Both of these regions used to be part of the Kingdom of Macedon during the ancient Greek era. This caused an ongoing argument about who had the right to use the name Macedon or Macedonia, which lasted for 27 years, but luckily has now been resolved. Next to the statue, you'll also find these umbrellas. The entire waterfront is beautifully decorated and a great place to ride a bike, walk around, or just relax on a bench in the warmer months. When you're done, head directly north and you will soon come across Pedion Areos Park. This park isn't a big local attraction. In fact, it's not even that nice, but it does have turtles. They just hang out there, they swim. I frankly don't really know what they get up to, but they are there. A short walk away from the park, you will find the Museum of Byzantine Culture. I had to Google that word, and I think I mispronounced it the first time I said it, so I apologize. Apparently, it's pronounced Byzantine, like that. Who knew? Well, not me, probably you. And one thing I want to point out is the street signs in Thessaloniki, because they're pretty fun. They have a lot of information on them, like the classic stuff, the name of the site and how far away it is. But then they also have the number of minutes it's going to take you to get there and the number of calories that you are going to burn by walking there. Here's a little tip for visiting the museum. If after watching this video you decide you would like to visit all of the historical sites I have mentioned, purchase the combined ticket. It costs 15 euros, is valid for 3 days, and will save you a ton of money. This museum is very detailed with 11 permanent exhibitions. There is less focus on historical events, which is what I personally prefer, and more emphasis on various objects. These range from early Christian church decorations and objects excavated from Byzantine graves to domestic pottery. I personally love a day out exploring a museum, but I would say an hour here is plenty. If you're feeling hungry after visiting the museum, I recommend you walk to a nearby restaurant called Polis. But this restaurant isn't Greek, it's Turkish, which if you've watched my food video, sorry, I keep plugging it, but it keeps being relevant, you will know that there is a lot of overlap between Turkish and Greek cuisine because of the long duration of the Ottoman Empire and the fact that they were both in it. But these are quite specifically Turkish dishes. But the reason I'm recommending it is A, because the food was incredible, and B, because it is very rare that you come across a place that is this highly rated on Google Maps. So yeah, I definitely recommend it. What I thought was really interesting is that most of the clientele seemed to be, at least when I was there, Syrian refugees. While we're on the subject of food, you should walk from there to the Pantopoleio. Sorry for doing the accent. It may just be a grocery store, but it is such a good one. They've got a long deli counter full of Greek food, but they're also well stocked on snacks from all over the world. Luckily, I was traveling carry-on only, so I couldn't buy much, but I would definitely go back if I visited Thessaloniki again. Right, final food entry. Skyline Cafe and Bar didn't really impress me on the food front. It's incredibly overpriced. Okay, why am I talking about it? Because the views are amazing. You can just sit there for 60 minutes and enjoy a 360-degree overview of the entire city. But know that a hot chocolate costs about £7 or nearly $10. Blech. Okay, back to a bit of culture now. The Rotunda, which is included in the combined ticket I mentioned earlier, is one of the most important Roman monuments in Thessaloniki. It was commissioned by Emperor Galerius in the 4th century and has had many different uses over the years. It was a polytheist temple, a Christian basilica, a Muslim mosque, and now an archaeological site. Now this next one probably isn't for everyone as it's a cemetery, but it is en route to our next spot and very, very pretty, plus it's full of friendly cats, so it gets 5 stars from me. The next stop is Pasha's Gardens, a little known park full of these mysterious half-ruined stone structures that some believe used to be an initiation temple for Ottoman Freemasons. Speaking of the Ottomans, we are now headed to a part of town where their lingering presence is most intensely felt. This area is called Poli, which means Old City. In 1917, Thessaloniki suffered a big catastrophe, now known as the Great Fire, which burned for 32 hours and destroyed 2/3 of the entire city. Poli, however, was largely spared and so has preserved much of the Byzantine and Ottoman era city design. Byzantine. I'm finally getting the word right. Poli is the highest part of the city and mainly dominated by Thessaloniki's Acropolis, a fort known as the Heptapyrgion. If you paid attention in maths class, you'll know that hepta means 7. Heptapyrgion then means fortress of 7 towers. But despite its name, the fortress has 10 towers, classic overachiever move. It's a great picnic spot, very romantic, really enjoyed it. Alternatively though, you can head to Vlatodon Monastery, which is just a short walk away. It's one of the city's 15 UNESCO World Heritage Sites that I mentioned earlier, and I found it incredibly peaceful. It's one of those rare places in a busy city like Thessaloniki where you feel like you can really stop and be alone with your thoughts. So I highly recommend you visit. And then after sunset, you can wander around the winding streets of Poli. If you're traveling solo, it might seem a little bit spooky, but I did feel safe the whole time I was there and in Thessaloniki in general. I really recommend you stop for dinner at this restaurant, Uzeria Cenari. Not only is it incredibly picturesque with checkered tablecloths and blue windows, but the food is also delicious. I particularly recommend their fava porridge. It's not a fancy dish, but it's really comforting and ended up being one of my favorite things that I ate in Thessaloniki. Okay, here's one for the daytime now. The Church of St Demetrios, another UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's the main sanctuary dedicated to the patron saint of Thessaloniki, and its interior is fittingly impressive. It's particularly famous for its ornate mosaic panels. Don't miss the crypt beneath the basilica, which was once an old Roman bathhouse. Scholars believe that this is where soldiers imprisoned St Demetrios and later left his lifeless body after they executed him. Pretty dark. Okay, let's lighten the mood with a quick trip to L'Albero, a lovely upmarket restaurant in central Thessaloniki, which just so happened to be about a 5-minute walk from the apartment I was staying at. It's incredibly highly rated. Pretty much every review on Google Maps is 5 stars. The food is excellent, the interior and background garden are beautiful. If you're in Thessaloniki and want to treat yourself, definitely go there. Seeing as I just mentioned my apartment, I would like to show you what it looked like because I feel like it was a really, really good find. I booked it via booking.com, which is how I book a lot of my accommodation, and it came to 39 British pounds or $50 per night, split between me and my boyfriend. The final entry on our list is a bit Bazar. It can be a little bit tricky to find, but I promise you it is well worth the effort. It's a quirky little part of town that's full of antique shops. It's got loads of traditional small tavernas and hole-in-the-wall bars. My favorite was called Carlo Gesualdo, which had a very friendly waiter and almost exclusively played Arctic monkey songs. Final point, when you go out in Greece, you should definitely make a point of trying 2 Greek spirits. The first being ouzo and the second being tsiporo. Now I'm about to show you a clip of me trying tsiporo for the first time, but before I show you it, I want to preface it by saying that I'm specifically not sharing the name of this restaurant because the service was atrocious. It was just, this one specific waiter was incredibly rude, but I don't want to like publicly name and shame them because the food was really nice and I'm sure all the other staff were great, and maybe this man was just having a really bad day or I was just particularly loathsome to him, which isn't impossible. Anyway, here's the clip. Honest thoughts on tsiporo. Not very nice. It is a very strong 40% spirit, so drinking it on its own is a little challenging. But what is far more challenging is the waiter here. He really doesn't like us, to the point where he brought us salad without a fork. I scavenged a spoon, and Sam is using these ice tongs. Thank you so much for watching this video. I just want to reiterate how fun Thessaloniki is. It's a great city if you like places that feel really authentic and allow you to get the real vibe of the country you're visiting. Thessaloniki is a really good bet. So thanks for watching once again. What did cool YouTubers say? They say smash the like button or just click it. That's fine too. Don't forget to subscribe. I bring out new videos every Friday and I hope to see you then. Bye!